Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast. My name is Lynette. Today, I would like to get a little bit off topic and give a big shout out to Elisa that lives in Italy. And I would like to recognize Italy for going through this devastation with peace, grace, and dignity. They have set a very good example for the rest of the world. One thing that I did learn from Italy is that something good comes out of everything. And I don't mean to minimize the devastation. However, I heard that the waterways have cleared up, and the canals in Venice, for example, are the clearest that they've been in 60 years. I've also heard that some of the smog is lifted in certain areas in China. Today we're going to recognize the silver lining in every dark cloud. The silver lining that I have found, one of the silver linings anyway, that I have found in going through a health crisis is that because you need people more and people need to drive you more, it actually strengthens your relationships. Whether it be with your significant other, your children, your neighbor, your friends. The fact that they need to drive you to the doctor or sit in the waiting room with you, whatever the case may be. Consequently, you end up spending more time with them, and you end up having conversations that you would not have had if you were still independent, because when we're independent, we all tend to drive ourselves everywhere. I guess it's what you would call a captive audience. I know by choice, you probably wouldn't have chosen it, nor would they have chosen it to be this way. But the fact that it was, again, one of the good things that has come out of this is the strengthening your relationship and to catch up on each other's lives. And generally, when somebody takes you to the doctor afterwards, there's a good chance that there's a cup of coffee or a lunch with it, which makes it a pleasant day spent with somebody that you may not have if you weren't going through this. And while we're on the subject of needing people and on the subject of the current crisis that's going on in the world, there are a lot of people that are home alone, elderly people, sick people. If you can find it in your heart or your time to make a phone call and see if anybody needs anything. I know people have called me to see how I'm doing, and I certainly did appreciate it. And by the same token, I've called some of my friends that I know might be home alone and checked on them as well, and I'm sure they appreciated it too. Also, regarding the current crisis, is a good time to bring up a perfect example of how somebody who is homesick or handicapped or life in general has taken away their normal lifestyle. The way the majority of the world feels right now while we're in lockdown, kind of devastated, kind of don't know what to do with yourself, where you stand, what you should be doing, is how people who are sick or physically compromised feel every day. And I think it's good, if for nothing else, to let other people have a better understanding of how somebody else might feel. As I talked about in the last episode, we really don't know how someone feels until we walk in their shoes. Even though the comparison of what's going on right now isn't an illness, it still amounts to the same thing, being stuck at home, having your career torn out from under you. It does give you a better insight of how people might feel that are a little less fortunate than yourself. And if you are someone who is stuck home every day and you are going through this situation pretty much on a daily basis, it's okay to have a pity party because you are going through a lot and you can't hide it and you can feel sorry for yourself. However, I want to warn you about being stuck in that frame of mind. If you get stuck in a pity party too often, I believe that brings bitterness. And bitterness is not good for the people around you. It's very hard on the people that are trying to help you. But most importantly, it's very hard on you. People are around you more. They do need to do more for you. But you don't want to make it a miserable situation for them. As we discussed, you have kind of a captive audience. And consequently, through everything that this has changed in my life, for example, I mentioned to you that I started rowing. Well, I have had different people take me rowing, and it's really been kind of a good thing because they've gotten to know the names of the people that I go with, or actually have seen what happens out there. So when I talk about it, they know what I'm talking about or who I'm talking about. It gives you a better opportunity to share your life. And I believe that's the way it should be before our own lives got so busy. All this swirl of what's happening in the world, this swirl of health problems, all of it put together has opened our eyes in so many areas. Dr. Phil on TV said that this was going to show our true colors, and it really has. For the majority of the people, it has brought out the good, the sharing, the caring. It's also given us an opportunity to get to know our neighbors better. I know yesterday I was sitting in my backyard and my phone rang, and it was my neighbor saying that she was in her front yard cutting her bushes. So did I want to go out front and sit in my yard and kind of have a social distancing. So there again, that was another opportunity that would not have happened if it weren't for this devastation that's going on. So again, we need to look for that silver lining. Also, I was watching The View, which I'm sure a lot of you do watch. And consequently, because of what's going on, there's a lot more television watching going on, I'm sure. And they said, when you don't go to work or your career is taken from you, you kind of lose your self-worth. And that can cause depression. And again, it brings to mind what people who are elderly or confined at home go through. I think that kind of hits the nail on the head, saying that we lose our self-worth. And this gives all of you that are only going through this on a temporary basis more of an understanding of what others go through that are confined at home on a daily basis. So in all of this going on with the world, with your personal life, with whatever, let's look for the silver lining in every cloud. And let's take advantage of this opportunity to get to know our neighbors better, to get to know our loved ones better. With that being said, all of you that are struggling with health crisis, I encourage you to try to find the silver lining. Think about what you might have been ignoring if you weren't forced to stay home more. I know, again, in watching television, I hear a lot of the celebrities say that they are now spending time at home with their children and cooking for them and basically enjoying family life. And if it wasn't for this crisis, that wouldn't have been happening. So in all things, whether it be our health, crisis, whatever, let's try to find the silver lining. Because it is out there, and let's share it with each other. I feel and I believe the whole energy of this world needs to be lifted. And I think the world coming basically to a stop has given the earth time to rejuvenate. These are just my own personal feelings. They aren't based on anything. But let's find the good that does come out of it. With all that being said, I'm looking forward to meeting with you again next week. It seems life is changing moment to moment, day to day. Again, to recap, I want you to understand, if you're listening to this and you are not a patient or a person with health problems, that you use this time of your quarantine to understand more how somebody you know may feel who is having a health crisis, a mobility crisis. They feel what you're feeling by being confined for a week or a month. They feel it every day of the year. And for those of you that are having a health crisis, I encourage you to try to find the silver lining in every cloud. And one of them is how it strengthens your relationships with people that you normally wouldn't been spending so much time with. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.